You'll have to excuse me. Some technical difficulties. September 22nd, 2016. But anyway, what I was getting into a little bit was my previous book, The Un-American Genocidal Complex, available on boxofsunglasses.com. And what I was saying was that Adolf Hitler, as evil and as bad as he was nothing but a snapshot, okay, or a Cliff Notes version of the quote conspiracy, and how bad it really is, okay. So if you think Trump is going to stop this whole thing, this tidal wave of evil that's upon this modern day mystery Babylon, it ain't going to happen, okay. There's no way in hell it's going to happen. And besides, Pharaoh Barry and his Egyptian high priest handlers, David Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, etc., Soros, they're not going anywhere, all right? They're not just going to, if Trump wins the election, if there is an election, it just ain't going to happen. He ain't leaving, okay? We're going to have a war. We're going to have an economic collapse. These people are pure evil. The only way to describe them is in a biblical frame of mind, and that's it, okay? So that's why my number one principle, I have three basic principles for this show. Number one is the Bible is the infallible word of God. Number two is you have to stop listening to these Trinity Broadcasting Network evangelical hacks. Okay, these people that say that Israel is God's chosen people, and we have to help Israel, and send your money to me and I'll send it over to Israel, and God will bless you, and all this nonsense. Okay, all this stupidity about a resurrection of Moses and Elijah as the two witnesses of Revelation, and this stupidity, okay? It's just, you can't describe the evil, okay? The evil is everywhere, okay? You can't focus on physical Israel and its Arab neighbors, and I'm not being anti-Israeli, and I'm not saying what's happening over there is good, but I'm saying on a relative basis, what this country, this isn't my country, okay? This David Rockefeller-run corporation with its Federal Reserve loan sharking operation, this isn't my country, all right? These useful idiot liberals, the media academic banking complex, or what I call the Un-American Genocidal Complex that runs this place now, this isn't my country, right? It's been taken over by a bunch of termites and barnacles, genocidal maniacs, okay, as I explained in the Un-American Genocidal Complex. And that flows into principle number three, is that there's no doubt that this country is the mystery Babylon of Revelation. Okay, again, you can read about that on boxofsunglasses.com. Okay, and go to the mystery Babylon link, and a line by line breakdown breaks down as per today's current events. And you have to excuse me if I'm repeating information from the last video, but it has some kind of technical issue, and I'll try to keep this segment brief. But again. Just to follow up real quickly, just to kind of bring things in perspective, just to tie things maybe to this scam presidential election. It's kind of funny how Hillary Jezebel Clinton, okay, collector of the Margaret Sanger Award, okay, the same Margaret Sanger who thought it better that blacks be killed in the womb before they're allowed to be born because they're not even worth trying to save. Okay, that's Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she said. She had a rating system of people right out of Darwin's Origin of Species, or the preservation of the favored races in the struggle for life. The subtitle to Origin of Species, which could just as easily be the subtitle to Hitler's Mein Kampf. All right, and we went through the whole evolution quote quiz where I had Margaret Sanger and Charles Darwin, Adolf Hitler, and a couple others stacked up against each other, and I had their quotes from them without telling which one it was, and the point being that it's indistinguishable to, when you just read the quotes without knowing who said it, Margaret Sanger, Charles Darwin, Adolf Hitler, and many others, lesser-known names of the American eugenics movement in the late 1800s, early 1900s are indistinguishable, which we should find very disturbing. Okay, these are the predecessors of the likes of Queen Jezebel, Hillary Clinton. All right. But anyway, this is an interesting article here, Myth Busted. actually, yes, Hitler was a socialist liberal, which is my exact point. Okay, I made that exact point that, you call Trump Hitler and all this kind of thing, and I'm not a huge Trump supporter. Yeah, he's a lot better than these other political hacks, and he's stirring up the pot a little bit. But again, he ain't going anywhere. Okay, these mooches, the 44th president, the Horus, the Egyptian sun god, Pharaoh Horus, Pharaoh Barry Obama, or Pharaoh Barry, and his Egyptian high priest handlers aren't going anywhere. People need to understand that, okay? But anyway, this is a quote from Adolf Hitler. This is in this article. "We are socialists. We are enemies of today's capitalistic economic system for the exploitation of the economically weak, with its unfair salaries, with its unseemly evaluation of a human being according to wealth and property. And we are determined to destroy this system under all conditions." Now, that sounds exactly like MoveOn.org and these other left-wing idiots, okay, these douchebags that their very existence depends on the uber capitalists, the white, Nazi-supporting evil capitalists of the likes of George Soros and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. But anyway, that's Adolf Hitler. So the article goes through, as I was saying, Hitler's, support for state control of education, the media, healthcare, his nature worship, his genocidal tendencies, his belief in Darwinism and survival of the fittest and eugenics. Okay, just like the progressive, the elimination of Jews as pigs and blacks, just like Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood. So, and then the industrial support for Adolf Hitler. So, to say that what's happening to the Jews of Israel with the Arabs, and they're the covenant people and they're God's holy people, it's just nonsense. Okay, the evil that's been perpetuated on the world just in the 20th century alone by the un-American genocidal complex is unparalleled in world history. And again, I trace these people all the way down, going all the way back to the days of Christ, from the money changers to the Catholic Church to the Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, the Royal Society, British Round Table groups, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilaterals, Bilderberg, Skull and Bones, etc., etc. And again, you can talk about these groups all you want, and conspiracy coups can talk about them all they want. But okay, what's next? I mean, what's the point? I mean, at a certain point, you're preaching to the choir, all right? The Bible's the only way that takes you deeper into what's happening and what's going to happen, all right? And you're never going to convince, depending on which parable of the New Testament you read, 75 to 90% of the population, unfortunately, is never going to get it. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So again, just to kind of recap the three principles: the Bible is the center of the quote conspiracy and the center of everything, for that matter. Israel is not God's chosen people. All right, stop listening to these morons, these evangelicals, so-called, their seminary degrees and their theological degrees. It's just one big circle jerk, okay? And they keep repeating, they copy each other, they rip each other off. It's all a bunch of crap. Right? A simple reading of say, Matthew 23, where Jesus says, the word New Testament means New Covenant. So how can you say the covenant, Israel's God's covenant people? Well, no, the meaning of testament, New Testament, is New Covenant. And Jesus at the Last Supper, this is the wine, this is a testament, this is my blood, which is shed for the New Covenant. So how the hell, and excuse my French, but how the hell can you sit here and say that the covenant with Israel still exists? It's so stupid. I can't even believe I have to address it. But anyway, that's biblical principle number 2. And that flows right into principle number 3. Well, if it's not Israel, the Armageddon and mystery. Well, Armageddon's a different story, but the mystery Babylon of Revelation 17 has to be identified. There's no doubt it's the United States. No doubt. Not a smidgen of a doubt. Okay, the occult symbolism from the Statue of Liberty, and remember what we talked about with Pharaoh Barry, and that'll segue right into this discussion tonight. Pleased to meet you. Okay, this is my 3rd book, and it discusses the history of Lucifer / Satan. It does it in the form of a conversation between an O'Brien character from Orwell's 1984 and the biblical Satan, okay, and they discuss, it goes from a kind of a modern day current events kind of thing, and it goes into a discussion of history with a lot of extracts uh, and a lot of symbolism right out of the Bible. There's no specific Bible verses mentioned in there, but there's a lot of quotations and a lot of information extracted from the Bible, okay? And it's just a conversation that kind of presents the information in a different fashion, okay? And let me just read, the opening dedication. The book this is similar to the dedication of the Un-American Genocidal Complex, okay? This book is dedicated to two groups. The first, basically to the veterans, okay? And then on the flip side is dedicated to them, or the Rockefeller, Kissinger, Brzezinski, Soros, can throw the European, British, mostly Rothschild family into that mix. But anyway, led Un-American Genocidal Complex and an enigmatic son of God, President Barack Obama, who have taken a nation from within, thereby negating the efforts of the first group. Now think about what that's saying, okay? So in other words, what's happening to this country, the takeover of this country has basically nullified the sacrifices of hundreds of thousands of veterans and their families, okay, who had to suffer through their deaths, who lost loved ones, okay? Just think about that, okay? Think about the evil of these people, all right? Brzezinski, Rockefeller's little puppy dog, Brzezinski, wrote a book called The Grand Chessboard, okay? And essentially he looks at the world as a game, all right? As moving pieces around a chessboard. That's the mentality of these people, okay? The arrogance and the condescension, okay? So basically what it is, if they've hooked up with Lucifer or Satan, who I'm saying is this mysterious Robert Christian character, okay? And I keep coming across new information, by the way, and we'll have to circle back to Robert Christian, again, who symbolizes the Rosicrucians or the Rosy Cross of the 18th or 6 plus 6 plus 6 degree of Freemasonry, okay? But anyway, these people treat the world as their own little game board, okay, under the auspices of one Robert Christian, okay, as documented in my first book, They Live, all right? Great Society of the Undead, okay? And that's a PDF. That's on the last page of my website. You can get there. That's a PDF download, and you're on the honor system on that one. That's my first book. But anyway, in section 3 of that book, I go into the meaning of the word great society, okay? And it's synonymous with Robert Christian when it boils down to it, all right? Synonymous with Satan himself is the word great, okay? And you don't, so that's what I really mean when I put great in quotes, great plan, great society, that's what I'm really saying in there, okay? When I say my first book, Great Society of the Undead, okay, Lyndon Johnson, The Great Society, and look what it's done, okay? Just for an example, and I explain this in section 3 of my first book, the Great Society has done nothing but destroy this nation from within. It's particularly the black population in this nation. Not that I'm saying that they didn't need civil rights reforms and this sort of thing, but the Great Society isn't about helping black people, all right? The Great Society, like the Great Depression, like the Great War, like the Great Plan, if you go and you read enough of, other, Margaret Sanger wannabes or Margaret Sanger's compatriots, in the New Age / eugenics movement, the Helena Blavatsky's, the Alice Baileys, and others, okay? They write about a great plan. And basically what that is a one world government under the auspices of the United Nations. Of course, as I explained on the last show, in the Un-American Genocidal Complex, this new world, this great plan is only good for about 500 million people, which is about a 90 to a 92% reduction in the Earth's population, which explains why they have this psychopathic drive for World War III. And they're going to get what they wish for eventually, okay? But anyway, that's going off. But So that's what I mean by the dedication. And I conclude with the best of luck with Mother Russia, Red China, and the religion of peace. So basically what's happening is China and Russia, okay, Mao and Stalin, as I've mentioned, were creations of Wall Street. Okay, so they created these monsters, and these monsters they're losing control of these monsters are the international bankers. And you're not going to hear this again on Fox News. You got to listen to the so-called alternative websites, and you'll see this happening in real time as China, and Russia gang up on the United States, and they're going for a new world reserve currency, and they're looking to get rid of the dollar. And Russia's and China are fighting us, and not us again, the Rockefeller complex, the un-American genocidal complex, which uses the military as its own personal mercenary force. So, but anyway, are fighting us in different, economically, militarily, and cyber warfare. It's all coming. It's all happening. Okay, so the chaos is unfolding. Okay, and they're not going to be able to control the chaos. They're going to try, if I can explain it, okay, they think they can control the chaos, but not. Satan is in charge. Robert Christian, okay, the image of the beast, Pharaoh Barry, okay, Satan's image. If they're in charge, nothing's going to be the same. Okay, nothing's going to work out as planned. The whole thing's a deceit. The whole thing's insanity. The whole thing's darkness. Okay, so when Jesus says, "I am the true light," okay, and this light was the life of men, in John 1, John 8. Got to start looking into that a little deeper, okay? Because things are going to go dark here. I mean, figuratively and literally, okay? When the economy collapses, or we get an EMP attack and all this sort of things, okay, and the grid goes down, you're going to have figurative darkness, but you're going to have literal darkness. It's just going to be, it's going to be mayhem, all right? And that's just the best way to say it, okay? Now, and again, it's hard to explain. And the goal here is this, is this book, is to make it, put it in plain language, okay? Try to just draw this information together. It may be confusing, and hopefully it does it. So that's basically it, all right? Unfortunately, that's where we're going. So maybe on the next couple of programs, I have on my site, on the opening pages, my two books that are for sale. Again, boxofsunglasses.com. I have the Mystery Babylon USA ebook, I'm calling it, and it's 3 sections. Okay, and really section 3, the numerology of abomination. All right, we can go over that on the next show, but just you can read it for yourselves. But the point I'm trying to make in those 2 links, and the point that I do make, is that there's way too many coincidences, there's way too many anomalies, there's way too much going on with this guy to simply explain him away as some dunce who's ashamed of his academic and his background. Okay, he doesn't have a real birth certificate. He's got literally 3 places of birth. Right? He's got multiple names. He doesn't have a legitimate Social Security card or Social Security number. He never attended Columbia University. Okay, his academic records, or else he supposedly attended, are all blocked. So the man's a ghost. He's an image. All right? He's almost like a figment of our collective imaginations. All right? It just so happens that this Egyptian Pharaoh is the 44th president of Mystery Babylon at a time when the world is approaching an economic, societal, international crisis point of biblical proportions. Okay? That's what it all boils down to. All right? So, pleased to meet you. All right? It tries to explain it in plain and simple terms. All right? And hopefully I accomplished that. The book's available on Amazon, or you've gone to the website, the links will take you to Amazon, or you can go to the publisher's website, whichever. There's a PDF download option. All right? But this is where we are. And number 44, okay, and I'll just throw this out there. Number 44 is the number of Horus. I'm having some technical issues here, but anyway, we'll get into that next week, just as a little preview. Okay, so number 44 has as in Barry, as Pharaoh Barry is the number 44 president. There ain't going to be a number 45. All right, it's just that simple. And if I'm wrong, and I hope I am wrong, and then things go back to normal, President Trump and all that, then people can look at this and say, all right, but my money's on Pharaoh Barry and his handlers. Okay. And don't forget God's simple salvation plan. It's probably the most important out of all. At the end of the day, this is all nonsense. Okay, Isaiah chapter 40, nations, mankind is grass. Okay. Isaiah 2, mankind is a breath. What account is he? All right. First Peter, okay. Chapter 1, mankind is as grass. All right. So the point is, the most important thing out of all this, all this nonsense is what it boils down to. And I don't mean to disrespect. I'm just trying to put things in perspective. From an eternal standpoint, from God's eternal standpoint, this whole thing, James chapter 4, life is a vapor trail. The most important thing is God's simple salvation plan. And that's what's really gonna hold people, that foundation, through what's coming soon. What's coming soon. Anyway, read that, learn it, understand it, believe it. Boxofsunglasses.com, Rob Roselli. Good night and God bless.